Hey everybody, this is Chi. That's my new agey nickname. And today I want to tell you about my adrenaline rush gigs when I was a kid. A couple of the different ones that I had. One of them was that we, mostly my dad, built radio control airplanes in the shop. We always had the shop in our house, and one room was designated as that for building radio control airplanes. And it was about this size probably, so we'll check it out. I got my shop there, and then I got another one in there. You can see the bench a little bit right there. But so I'm no exception to the rule that we adhere to our parents' things, but for me it's like I take what I like and I leave the rest, whereas a whole lot of people just take everything what their parents told them and go with it. But we would go fly radio control airplanes, usually on like Saturday or Sunday morning. And we'd have to get up pretty early because in the afternoon the wind would get going, and that's no good for flying. And, the nights before we would say, we're going flying in the morning. And that was kind of like the kicker for the adrenaline, to get rushing, because, you see, these airplanes had a tendency to crash. And they were a lot of work. These days you can buy ARFs, almost ready to fly planes. For those people that, if they crash them, oh well, it's not too big of a deal. But back then, with these planes, we put God knows how many hundreds of hours into them. And we didn't fly the ones that were like replicas of the real ones. We just flew planes that, I can't remember the names of them. There was an Ugly Stick, one called an Ugly Stick, and they still make that kit today for the diehards that want to build it. And these had real balsa wood ribs and the whole 9 yards. And motors, the motors were gasoline with a gas tank in them. And you can still buy all this today, but a lot more people are flying electric. And things that are easier to build are already made. But back then, when you wrecked an airplane, it was like, oh my God. My mom talks still, I believe, of the day when Dad crashed an airplane. I mean, my dad is a perfectionist, okay? An accountant, and he built big airplanes at Lockheed in Lancaster, California in the late 60s, early 70s. And so when he built these airplanes, they were just like perfect, And I take it that's where I get some of my perfectionist tendencies, no doubt. But when they wrecked, like one day he hit a pole at San Diego Stadium with an airplane. And my mom says that he just cried and cried over it, And he's doing like 100 miles an hour at low elevation. Elevation, is that the word? I don't think so. And hit a pole, and it just like little pieces just go all over the place, And you just hear this big crack noise, And so it was an adrenaline rush, for all of us to see Dad fly. Can he get it up? Can he get it down? And so that was one of the things that, and I often thought to myself, like, as a kid, I remember thinking to myself, why do we have to do this? But I got into it because it was Dad, and you just go along when you're a kid. And until you've experienced enough of their bullshit to know that it's bullshit, you just don't know. And then living in San Diego, we were Charger fans, like so many people are around the country. They get into their football or their baseball or their basketball team, and they're like die-hard fans. They'll call the other team names and they'll scream all kinds of shit, you know, at the top of their lungs. And you know, we were like that. Like the closer it got to the big game, the more I could feel the adrenaline rushing. I didn't think of it like that when I was a kid, but that's how it was. I know it. I remember it from, I feel it from remembering it. And when we won, it was like, yes! Oh my God, the whole week was great. But when Fouts flubbed, Dan Fouts and the Chargers back then had a great team, you know. And one year they made it to the Super Bowl. And then they lost to the 49ers that were a much, much better team. And it was just like we were depressed for weeks, you know. And these are perfect examples, absolutely perfect examples of the black and white mentality of the world we live in, especially the United States. I mean, sure, there are all kinds of examples, though, different types of examples from different countries, depending on what bandwagon they'll typically jump on, whether it be a religious or a sports or all different kinds of bandwagons that you can just be a die-hard fan of, you know. And I have said this time and time again, that the most perfect place of God, or whatever you like to call it, it doesn't have a lot of polarity. In fact, it's just like this perfect place in the middle where there's no waves and there's no wind and there's no sound. It's so dead, peacefully perfect quiet. And so the more we move towards the center and less adrenaline and less chaos and less fighting and all of the things that are tending to burn us out early. The smog and the traffic that's creating it, no good. The longer I live here and the more I can stay here, oh man, I'm figuring out ways. I can have USPS come and pick up a package for free. If I have a package or several packages, I can get on the computer and I can set it up. I can request a pickup for free from them. So I'm figuring out ways to create less and less polarity in my life. So many of them. So I want to thank you for joining me. And remember, I'm not even close to perfect. I fall off the peace wagon all the time. All the time. And I call myself a guru because that just means teacher in India, so that you know. That doesn't mean that I'm like sitting on this giant pedestal. It just means that I'm teaching the shit that I know. That's all there is to it. So I want to thank you for joining me. This is Chi. Once again, that's my new age nickname. You can call me Brett, I don't care. Just don't call me Brat. That pisses me off. I'm serious, I don't like that. Hope you're well.